Let's try this again. Take number 4. I jerry-rigged a support for my camera because the wind is literally blowing everything all over the place. We're shooting this out here in the yard on an extremely windy afternoon down here in South Florida, which should be expected at this point because I truly mean it when I say it. I don't believe this wind has let up at all since the last hurricane made its way through. It has been blowing 15 to 25 consistently, sustained, whatever you want to call it, for the last 3 weeks, it feels like. And as far as my weather app can predict, it looks like it's going to continue to do so, which is extremely annoying. And we actually have a small craft advisory for tomorrow, which is very unfortunate because I'm supposed to work tomorrow and I am going to work tomorrow. Just because of the way the wind's blowing, I believe I can shelter up. And more importantly, I believe my customers for tomorrow have an opportunity to take advantage and see something really special, something very cool, and just take advantage of some really awesome fishing out here on Lake Okeechobee because of kind of what's going on. And before we get into the main point of today's video, I'm going to share this with you guys. I touched on it in my last video, that there's a really fun bite happening really everywhere on Okeechobee, from the Kissimmee River all the way down to Pelican Bay. You can find fish in a pre-spawn mode, staging, schooling, and fattening up and gorging on shad. People are taking advantage of this bite, and it always happens this time of year. It's kind of a standard deal, but because of the lack of cold fronts we've had so far, it's already early November. We really haven't had a true cold front yet, just some smaller fronts. The water temperature is still relatively high, and these fish are just taking the opportunity to just fatten up. Makes for great fishing, makes for great numbers of fish being caught in a day, and it's been extremely fun. But there is one school of fish on this lake right now that I will go out on a limb and say is the biggest school of bass in the country, without a doubt, in my opinion. When we find big schools of fish here on Okeechobee, they might have 150, 200 fish in them, 50 fish in it, whatever it might be. A lot of times they're in a bottleneck. Maybe they're in a boat lane, a canal. But very rarely do you just have a large expanse of bass. And when I say a big school of fish, it's very rare to find anywhere in the country, I believe. It's very rare to find a 350 to 450 acre school of bass. And this is not clickbait. I mean it when I say it. It's been going on for a few days. A lot of people have kind of been keeping it hush-hush, which, I mean, I'm not going to note where the school is located. And they may not even be there anymore. You guys know it's Lake Okeechobee. They move from day to day. But there's been a big group of fish located in a very random area of the lake, really that no one fishes, but truly unreal. I actually went out yesterday and fished. I tried to film. The wind and everything made it difficult, and I did catch a lot of fish, but a lot of the fish I caught were a lot smaller in size. But ended up coming in, grabbing the family, and even, took them out and tried to catch lichen and some bass, and Breezy actually caught the 2 biggest fish that I had seen all day. And even she said, she has a lot more experience on this lake, more than me, and she said, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. It was really cool. It was very special. And it really kind of put it in perspective for me for how lucky I am to be able to call that my office, be able to make a living on such a historical body of water when it comes to bass fishing. Although we might not have caught 35 pounds in the school, I know people that have. And just seeing a school of bass that you legitimately cannot see the other end of is unreal. And it was just really cool. It was very encouraging to see. Like I said, I did not catch a lot of big fish. That was just, luck of the draw. But all the fish were ridiculously healthy, fat, great in color. And it's just really encouraging to see for the next few years that we do have a very healthy population of fish. It also, lets us know that we don't know, even nearly have a clue as to really what happens out here on this lake. The fish are here. The fish are, they do live in it. Just because we're not catching them doesn't mean they're not there. These fish roam. Another thing that this taught us is these fish will feed, and feed aggressively and effectively in very dirty water. So crazy, awesome. I hope we don't have to cut this short because there's literally a rain band coming through right now. But just something super special. It was really, really cool, very eye-opening, and just, anyway, getting into that, really cool. Lake Okeechobee is a special place. As much as we bitch and moan about the condition she's in, there's really no other place in the country like it. So, pretty cool. But what we're going to get into is, in order to catch those fish, with the amount of bait that they are gorging on, the bait is very plentiful around the school of fish. And really all over the lake right now, okay? Everywhere that these fish are gorging, in order for them to gorge up on food, the food needs to be there, right? A lot of the areas, the water is very clean, and these fish are getting very good looks at your bait and the bait that they're feeding on, which is primarily shad. And every group of fish is going to be feeding on different size bait. Some of the bait is very tiny, which is the hardest type of fish to catch, or the bait might be somewhat decent size, which increases your odds, but still, those fish will get educated very quick. And lucky for me, I got my hands on a somewhat new bait that has been helping me have great luck out there. So a lot of you are familiar. I know I plug these guys all the time. We're definitely going to get wet. Is the no live bait needed K-tail swim bait. As you guys can see here, I'm going to step over my picnic table, give you guys a good look. All right, this is the K-tail, and truth be known, it is designed to look just like a finger mullet for, to target snook and tarpon, which there's no doubt that it does, but it's a great swim bait. On top of that, we have mullet here in Lake Okeechobee. Millions of mullet that the bass actively do feed on, but you can make this thing look like anything you want, especially when you play with the colors and things. This one here, this is the 5-inch version, okay? It's just a standard swim bait. You guys can see I have this rigged on 20-pound fluorocarbon and a 6/0 wide gap hook, and been throwing this thing around. I caught a bunch of fish on this and that school of fish, and just really all over the lake lately. And I've done a bunch of videos on this thing. But they do have a 7-inch version. They're working on a 9-inch version, but they just released this guy, which is the 4-inch version K-tail, okay? Now, just to give you a perspective on the size difference, you would think the difference between 4 and 5 inches might not be that great, but as you can see, it is a pretty significant size difference. Just not as dense, obviously an inch shorter, just not as bulky of a profile. And this thing has been imitating the small shad these fish have been feeding on perfectly. The main reason I'm doing a video on this bait is because I've been getting a lot of questions regarding these, and you could pick them up at a lot of the tackle shops now around the lake. I know Fast Break Bait and Tackle, I believe, has them. Lake and Trail on the north end. But this is going to be the most versatile bait in their lineup, in my opinion. The 5-inch is great. The beauty of this bait, and I've said it time and time again, is its ability to run true on a wide gap hook rigged weightless. This thing will swim true every time. You don't have to burn it. You could swim it super slow, and that tail just has, in my opinion, the most realistic and most natural swimming action out of any swim bait I've seen, which is what makes it so deadly. The same things apply with this little guy here. But on top of that, this bait is the perfect size to throw on the back of a chatterbait, all right? Now, is there a time and place for it? Yes. Does the trailer really matter all that much? Maybe, maybe not. But in times of maybe pressured fish, where fish are getting a lot of fishing pressure, maybe the fish are very educated, maybe the water is very clean, this is going to be an awesome trailer on the back of your chatterbait. Also, doing things like taking the skirt off your chatterbait and throwing this, or throwing this on a scrounger head will work very well. I've been mixing it up, okay? So throwing this on the back of a swim jig works awesome, does wonders as well. Throwing it just on our standard wide gap hook, you're going to throw this. This is the hook the bait was designed around. It's a Titan Rider BKK. It's actually a 2/0 hook. It's not a big hook, but it is pretty beefy. It's pretty thick gauge. I really don't think you're going to open it up. But you could just scale down. Throw this on a medium heavy rod. Throw it on lighter braid or maybe some really heavy fluorocarbon. You won't have any issue. Yesterday, I was throwing some on the Titan Rider with the underspin on there. The water, like I said, very, very dirty where these fish have been feeding. And that little bit of flash definitely got some more bites. Another thing I did was throwing it on their no live bait needed screw lock jig head. All right, this thing is killer. This one actually caught a couple of fish before we came in yesterday. All right, so that was just getting the bait down. It was extremely windy, and I can make long casts. And, you know, I was throwing this on a little bit of a different setup. I was throwing this on my 7.4 Senko Sticks medium heavy chatter trap rod. It's a very light action rod. It's meant to obviously throw a chatterbait and or a rattle trap. Best rattle trap rod you'll ever use, but it does a hell of a good job at throwing a small jig head style swim bait as well. Again, it's an open hook presentation. The fish eats it. You almost just reel in and load the rod. Tons of fun catching them on this. When everyone's throwing rattle traps, indoor chatterbaits, you can mix it up on these pressured fish right now, these schooling fish. You're going to get a few extra bites, and obviously when it comes to those bigger fish in the school, they're more educated, they're a little bit harder to fool. So this little guy right here has been working wonders. This is the 4-inch. Like I said, the 5-inch has its place. I believe the 5-inch is going to have its place definitely here in the upcoming months when these fish make it back into these cleaner water areas and are spawning in these back marshes. That is definitely going to be a player. But this is going to be the most versatile. Again, swim jig, chatterbait trailer, throwing it naked, throwing it with a small punch skirt, putting it on the back of a jig when they're spawning, taking a flipping jig, rip your hook, rip your skirt off, and just put this on a 1/2 ounce flipping jig, like a Gambler double weed guard or something. Flip this to isolated cover. This bait actually swims down, and it's small enough to where it's compact and you're going to get a bunch of good bites. So they come in a large variety of colors. I mean, I've got my hands on a bunch of them, but they got kind of this golden guy here. They've got them in natural shad colors. I'm dropping stuff everywhere, but definitely an awesome bait. Been getting asked a lot of questions on these, and these just hit the market, so definitely look them out. Again, look them up. It's the No Live Bait Needed K-Tail. It's the 4-inch version. Probably going to be one of the most versatile swim baits, realistic looking swim baits you can get your hands on, but definitely been working for me. So just wanted to share that with you guys. If you guys have any questions regarding really anything I've been using, let me know. Just leave it in the comments or text me. My phone number is in the description below. And that's it. I'm going to go inside before we get rained on. And if you guys want to book a trip, let me know. I'm going to be having these gentlemen the next 4 days. Next week, I do have a few open slots to take some people fishing. So let me know if you guys want to go on a trip. I appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys on the next one. Tie lines.